welcome to the Ecosystem Innovation video series. Thank you for joining us again today. We're going to cover a challenge in procurement that I think in every business you see pretty much every single day. And that is balancing how we ensure that our user requests are made across the business, where you may have thousands of users creating purchase requisitions on a daily basis. But being able to manage that as well as ensuring that we stay on track with our savings KPIs. And that's the whole challenge of management of the high value transactions versus the high volume but low cost transactions. So tail spend, and we've spoken about tail spend on this channel previously. Obviously, this can take a lot of time and energy, but now with RPA and other technologies, this can be made a lot easier and more efficient. And our partner, Apsolut, have created a negotiation bot, and that automates a lot of this process. Actually negotiates directly with the suppliers, gets you better prices, etc. For these kinds of transactions, so that procurement doesn't have to worry as much about it. Today, I've got with me Klaus Schuller, who's one of the associate partners at the Apsolut Group, and he leads the intelligent process automation area. And he's going to give us a bit of an overview of the solution, give us some background, and do a brief demo so you can see it in action as well. So welcome, Klaus. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mo, for inviting me today. It's a great honor and pleasure to be on your channel. And as Mo mentioned before, I will talk a little bit about intelligent process automation and specifically one specific area, tail spend. So what is intelligent process automation? What we are talking about is all the new technologies, technology enablement within a company which supports business in all angles. So in this case, what we do today, it's the requester and also the purchasing department, always with resource constraints. So we want to focus today on the, but it's vice versa. We have it, like you said it before, it's the low volume and high, or how do we say it? You put the wording correct.
Yeah, low volume, high volume, low value transactions.
Exactly, that was the wording. Yes. So we focus today on the high volume, low value transactions, which are considered in tail spend.
Cool. And so can you give us some idea of what you're seeing? I mean, you've built this, and we're going to talk about what you've built, but what is it that you were seeing in your customers that triggered the need for you to create this?
So it's all about expectation management as well. So the requester expects, of course, a very fast. He orders something. He wants to have the stuff immediately in his hands. On the other hand, he wants to avoid a cumbersome or a long-term procurement process where you do a bidding, where you do a negotiation. That's on the other hand. And here it comes exactly which I introduce later on, the speed bidding. In one hand, to have an agreed service level, to achieve the KPIs in the process KPIs, to have a very fast reaction, a very fast that the requester holds his stuff in hand. And on the other hand, you fulfill completely the expectations from procurement to achieve cost savings in charge where you currently potentially not negotiate because the volume or the value is too low.
Yeah. Okay. So when we talk about what it is that you guys have done, so give us an idea of the process. Just take us through what actually happens with the system, how it happens through the procurement process, etc. Yeah.
So we're focusing directly on the requester, the purchase requisition itself. Mm-hmm. And normally this kind of low value transactions go through in the most companies without any overlook anymore by procurement side. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of loss in this area, which is called tail spend, where there will not be any more negotiated because you have resource constraints. You focus more on the high value tasks within procurement. And here exactly this gap is filled by our bot First of all, where we have a combination, because for us, intelligently means also a combination of several steps, of several bots. And you have on the one hand, the speed bidding, so that you get immediately, for example, a bid, and then the negotiation bot hooks on the initial bid which you receive and starts negotiation to the different expectations or the different rules which procurement has.
Yeah, right. Okay. And right. And as you go through that process, so if we look at it from the lens of a user, so if we, and looking at that process, so I'm a user, I come into the procurement system, I create a requisition.
Yeah.
Now, at that point, that's when the bot kicks in to do some evaluation of what it is that's being requested, correct?
Correct. There's as well an additional functionality which we have is the PR completion, because you cannot expect that a normal requester knows all the information, like for example, which correct category, which correct, is it against the WS element, is it a CO center? So this is as well what a bot, but this is not today the focus on, where he completes first of all the PR. And then overlooks, first he can overlook what is in the source list, which preferred vendors you have, or if you have a single source, he can directly push the bid request or the chat request to the preferred or to the single source supplier.
So one of the other things that I think you guys do is also do a check on, so a user creates a request. Maybe they're not aware that there's a catalog item already from a supplier or a contracted item, right, in the operational contract. So the solution also does that first as an initial check before it then decides there is no other alternative with this supplier or suppliers, and then moves on to either speed bidding, etc. Correct?
Exactly. So especially for the speed bidding order for the negotiation, or this is now at the customer, as a customer example where we have implemented it, checks, of course, is there already an e-catalog available? Is there a contract available against this item, or is it a one-time spend or any kind of intercompany and this would be automatically then excluded for the next round for doing the bidding request, or excluded as well then for negotiation purposes.
Okay, so it filters that out. So once it's done that, then, I mean, in terms of how does, in a simple form, and I know we should probably go a little bit more into the negotiation area, but at a high level, it invites the supplier directly via a chat request, right? And then
you get some official email.
Okay.
And then you can for the speed bidding, it's a chat request where he can give his initial bid, or you can as well request a normal RFP process where then a second step. But especially the today talks is about speed bidding to improve the timings from the request until really the PO is created.
Yeah.
So this is currently the focus. As said, we have here always the different topics. First of all, you have the spend reduction, which you want to achieve. In our case, at the customer, we talk about 9 million spent only for Germany in this area. So you can imagine if there is most of them catalog 60%, there's still a volume of 40% which goes here over it. And if you achieve then, in that case, there was a fixed rate of 5%. Which should be negotiated. You can imagine the value, what is here possible, and how fast even this bot is amortized. And here, of course, we give as well a success-based pricing. We say, okay, as we're knowing this is achieved and we have the base and we have the end, we can overview it, and we do that as well on a success-based pricing.
Okay, cool. So in terms of, I mean, the one area that everybody will want to know is, how does that negotiation work? Because it's one thing to say negotiation, but to take them through, there's some intelligence behind that process.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So can you take us through that just so that people understand?
Yes, we have multiple angles which are influencing as well the target price you want to achieve or your walk-away price. So that's very key what you are starting with, and this the target price which is achievable is of course related to the material group category which you have, and you know in one categories there's due to the yearly planning which you do. There's much more opportunity to get savings, or you can as well have the other factor in the slow volume bit, not so much. You have the order volume as well. How far is it? What do you do? But over the year as well, you can compare. You can go on your database and go look on the analytics. You can achieve as well historical data. What was the behavior? Which prices have you achieved in the past? And of course, you have a country. You have different prices per country, which you have to as well consideration. If you talk about receiving of multiple bits, you can do as well a flexible calculation of the target price between the highest and the lowest bit or the mid bit. So there's a lot of different possibilities what you can achieve within machine learning, and which we have implemented. There are different types of intelligence you can put around.
Okay, and the grid that you've got on the slide there on the right-hand side, that is how is that just a matrix of showing how you can set it up in terms of priority, in terms of, you're looking at that from an overall category perspective, right? And what?
Right.
Yeah.
That's something which comes due the yearly cycle, which you do the procurement planning. That's for a customer where we are working on for North America, for example, per category. And there is an achievement or a broken down due to the yearly plannings. What is the highest volume which you would target or is to spend? What is the maximum? What is the low? And what is the target you would like to achieve? And you can hook as well on your analytics, on your planning, which you do during the year. And the bot flexible can use as well, or the intelligence can use as well your plans within the categories, what you would achieve. So we have multiple triggers which you can use to achieve finally the broken down potentially from the business side down to procurement to achieve overall savings by nevertheless increasing efficiency gains. And this is exactly what we are doing.
Okay, cool. So I think it would be good to be able to show just a short demo of how this works and just walk us through the speed bidding process with an example. So why don't we move on to that? And then, you can take us through it. Okay, Klaus, over to you.
Yes, so what you're seeing here is the email which the supplier receives with the invitation for the bid. So you receive the number, it's for the common disabled chair, and you receive as well the link and the token to secure that you are the right person, the supplier, which is unique related to you and nobody else will come in. So you would, with the link, you come directly to our bot, and the bot is starting to conversation. Of course, you have to, first of all, authenticate yourself. You have to enter the token. That's the first step, which the supplier is doing now, together with the validation. And then you have the details from the RFQ are taken, and you have agreed to the terms and conditions before you even start the negotiation. Then there's a short check of the amount, and is the product the right one? And you will be asked, this is now the speed bidding part, you will be asked, what is your price? So you enter your price, and with that one, you have the first legal binding proposal. And now we are starting, we hand over to the negotiation bot, and he's asking you, in this case, of a reduction of 300 euro.
How does it decide that, Klaus?
That's in a simple way. It's just a given rule now, a percentage on the specific category. And in this case, we agreed on 2 steps. So within the second steps, we are going outside. We have other implementations, more high sophisticated, where there's a third step, whereas as well the direct information based on the 360 view on the supplier, where he tells, okay, your scoring currently is this and that. Currently, we are running an initiative to reduce our spend. So you could be in the future not be considered anymore for RFPs.
Okay.
So would you like to follow our recommendation? So
Okay.
this is what the procurement, what you normally do, as well as a discussion then on negotiation, what you give there.
You're almost putting in procurement policy in there as well.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So you give that, and the bot, you can be sure he's just exactly following your procurement policies and your strategy, what you would like to achieve.
Okay.
And suppliers are as well clever. They are very fast recognizing. There's as well randomly different texts, different negotiations strategies, so that you cannot be relying on that it's always the same. And you always already calculate a higher price within, and to have then finally achievement.
And I think the other thing that we should just point out is these are the transactions that procurement typically do not touch.
Exactly.
So the idea behind this, whilst the savings that you're getting through this process are savings that you wouldn't have got because you wouldn't have touched it. So the fact that you've got a process sitting in the background, you're not having to employ anybody to do that. So you don't have headcount to deal with this. You don't have a procurement desk that needs to look at it. The solution is doing it for you. In addition to that, as we pointed out earlier, and this is important in case, there are organizations that can be saying, oh, well, we could just use Amazon Business, or we could use a consolidator that could do that. The solution is already taking that into account, right? So if you have those kinds of solutions already connected, like Ariba does with Spotbuy, like you can have Amazon Business, you can have punch outs, you can have a static catalog.
Exactly. Yeah.
The solution's already looking at that and saying, well, you don't have an option there, so therefore I'm going to handle this. And the additional discounts that you're getting through this process, especially if you can link your procurement policies, is adding that layer in, because you are mimicking, that's the point of RPA, you're mimicking what humans would do, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what the RPA, what the bot is doing. You give him what normally a procurement guy, an employee is doing, procurement officer, and the bot is doing exactly the same according to the rules.
And you can add those rules in, right? So you work with the customer to understand what they are, how that works. So you have a standard framework, and then the customer can say, but we, in this area, we do this, or we would like it to do that
differently.
Yeah,
Exactly. The only thing what we have to consider about is what is the infrastructure behind. That's always differently. Also, if we hook on the analytics space, that's always also different at the customer side. And but we have a standard currently based on central procurement and Ariba. So the base package where you have a first negotiation, but like you have seen now in the demo, for approximately 15 to 20K, which we establish. If you have additional systems or additional logic or intelligence, then we have to see about. But this base package, like it was presented there, that's the starting point, and you have very fast as well. You can show low-hanging fruits. You can show it within your company how this is working in your environment.
Okay, and you've got some, as part of the IPA area, you've also got, I don't know if you want to call them extensions to this, right? So yeah,
that's the easy RFQ functionality, which we have, as well as a solution package, which we can easily as well integrate. You have, I mentioned it before in a side sentence. If, for example, based on the RFQ or based on the requisition which comes in, you can push based on the source list RFQ to different suppliers. So there will be automatically created an RFQ, which is done here as well, because we use the vehicle of an RFQ as well for the documenting of the bid and the chat. But there it sent out to multiple suppliers and considered, and as well doing then the price comparison within the bot, within this easy RFQ functionality.
Great. So yeah, so that kind of takes that one level extra before you kind of turn it into a full-blown big sourcing request that procurement would pick up because it's high value, etc.
Yeah.
Right? It kind of sits in between that. Okay, cool. No, that's great. Thank you, Klaus. I think that's been a really nice overview. If anyone wants to know more, I'll have Klaus's details below in the description. Other members of the Apsolut group will be more than happy to have that conversation with you. I'll put the link in the description to the area on your website as well. But yeah, no, I really appreciate that, because I think it's useful. You know, a lot of the stuff that we do on this channel is trying to help customers or prospects understand how they can make their procurement area more efficient. And this kind of thing does make it more efficient without having to build a huge, big, completely new process or solution. So these are nice, I'm going to say quick fixes, but important fixes to the overall process. Please do, again, for anybody who watches our channel, like, share, subscribe, comment below. We'll be happy to answer any other questions on this as well. But in the meantime, again, Klaus, we're going to come back and do some more, hopefully, I think, from... Of
course. More to come. We have a whole bunch of bots.
Great. Yeah, so we'll cover that as well.
Project life cycle.
Yeah, just keep in touch, my friend, and I'm sure we'll cover some more interesting ones as well. So thanks again. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll be back here again soon. Take care.
Thanks, Mo.
All right. Cheers.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.